talk about today is something called enmeshment, and Google doesn't even know how to spell enmeshment because I don't think it's something that's very common or talked about, but it is a psychological term. A psychologist did come up with this term, and it has to do with families, but I think it really has to do with our situations as well too, with our narcissist and how they react and how they interact with the world around them. So enmeshment is where the boundaries of the family are diffused. Basically, they're non-existent, and there's a lot of guilt and shame used in enmeshment, enmeshed families. So enmeshment is where basically you are one with the family, where you do everything together. You don't really establish an independent being on your own. Your independence. You're one with the family. You do everything with the family. If the family has to know about everything that you're doing too. They have to know who you're with or what happened. And if you try to, and in these enmeshed families, when you try to break away from the family, not break away, but just, assert your independence, maybe do something on your own, it's seen as very bad. It's almost like a punishment technique or a punishment. How can I better say it? It's more of like something really bad that the family, it goes against the family. Then you're almost you're put on the black sheep list. You're like the scapegoat. You're the bad one in the family if you're going against the way things have always been done. And it appears that enmeshment may be more cultural. There may be a cultural component to it because a lot of European, or not European, but some of the different cultures. I don't know exactly which ones because I'm not any of those, so I can't really speak for them. But some of them may practice it a lot more, and it may be kind of the way they're based. And I guess there are some good aspects of it. It keeps the family together, but enmeshment itself goes over the line, and it doesn't really give that person a healthy concept to grow up in a culture that doesn't support those same values. So when you get into the culture of the United States, which values independence, and you have enmeshed families in it, there's all these value systems coming at the person who's growing up, the adolescent or whatever, that you want to be independent, you want to be on your own, and then the family's kind of doing the opposite. So how does this apply to narcissistic abuse? The way I see it, I can really relate to this from my own viewpoint, because I grew up in a family where my dad wanted to know everything, and he would sit down with me and go through everything, when I come home late at night, hey, it's 5 minutes past your curfew, which I had a curfew, and I pretty much abided to the curfew, but he'd want to know who I was with, what I was doing, and I guess, I felt like it was concern on his part. But there's also, so you have the enmeshed family, and then at the other end of the continuum, you have the detached family. That's the family that really isn't involved with their kids. They don't know what's going on. And so I would have, I wouldn't see my dad a lot, but when I did see him, he would be very involved, but then sometimes he would be working a lot, and he'd work some odd shifts and whatnot. He'd work third shift, and I wouldn't see him. And so I didn't really have that time with him, so I almost felt detached. It's not his fault. I mean, he just did what he was doing. I think I had a very good childhood. But going back to that, there was never this nurturing family, which is kind of in the middle. That's where the family nurtures, and that's obviously the ideal place that you want to be. But I would say that a lot of us didn't really get that. Because when you have a nurturing family, you're going to have healthy boundaries that you're going to establish when you're growing up from your parents. And so I kind of had the opposite. I kind of had both. I'd have the enmeshed, and then I'd have the detached. And so I never really knew whether I was going to be, whether they didn't care. Of course they did care, but whether they, and again, this is through my childhood eyes, that, do they really care, or are they really involved, or, did I do something wrong again? Because it seems like they would step in, they'd want to know everything that was going on so he could point out, well, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, not in a modeling sense. But, again, our parents do the best that they can and whatnot. I know I'm a parent, and there's a lot of things I wish I knew, but I'm just doing the best that I can, and I believe parents do that, Of course, if they're narcissistic, they're not going to know that either. I mean, it goes back to parents really do. People do try to do the best that they can under the circumstances that they're living in. Now, if they're deluded in those circumstances, like a lot of narcissists are, then, they're still doing that in their mind. They're still doing the best that they can. So going back to the enmeshment, I think what happens is, like in my case, is that I never really had those boundaries established. So when somebody came along that decided to enmesh me, I got married with her. The relationship went very quickly. Within a few months, we were engaged. I want to say it was under a year, so I don't know if that's fast for a lot of people, but for us it was. And then we were married a year and a half later after we first met. That kind of enmeshment, and I'm almost going to do maybe a diagram, not in the car while I'm driving, but maybe do a video where I use a diagram. But in enmeshment, where somebody, the person takes over the other person, and in a narcissist standpoint, because narcissists view everything as an extension of themselves, like their iPhone or their car or whatever, they have that utilitarian love where, gosh, I love my car when it's really working for me, but the moment it breaks down, I hate that car. That's the kind of love that narcissists have for us. When we're useful to them, that utilitarian, when we're useful to them and we're doing things for them, we're great. When we're upping their social status, making them look good, they're all about us, right? But the moment we stray away from that, wow, watch out. The moment we assert our independence, hey, I don't quite want to do that plan that you had. So that's the thing with the narcissist, is that they're very enmeshing people. They don't have boundaries. They don't see things. They don't expect you to have your own say in things. Now, when they love bomb you, you realize that's all fake, right? They're trying to get you involved with them so that they can get you committed to them, so that they can have a regular source of supply, somebody they can go back to and basically power over, and if they're feeling angry, they can get you upset, so you're the angry one, and all that kind of stuff. That's where that abuse comes in. But the enmeshment thing is I think it's very interesting. It's very it's refreshing to me to see that there's something there that maybe I can put my finger on, because my parents weren't really narcissists to say. Maybe they had some tendencies or whatnot. I had a speech impediment when I was growing up, which used to isolate me from a lot of people. But we all have our stuff, right? We're growing up. It's just how we adapt to it. But this awareness of just being aware of things, of different things, I think is so key to recovery and all this. Is just to know, hey, maybe this happened to me, or hey, maybe this is why this happened. But it still boils down to that you're not the problem. Maybe your boundaries are a little bit not messed up, or your boundaries are a little bit skewed, in that you never really develop that sense of self. So you're more susceptible to these people. But the narcissist, they're the problems in your life, and you still, we can learn all about them and why they do what they do. I think if we learn anything, it's to learn why. It's to learn why we stay with them. Why when we that was weird. Why when we why is it that we stay with these people when we start seeing the red flags? They can love bomb us, but then we start to see the red flags, and we stay with them anyways. And I think it's because we're so mesmerized by what they do. They're so intoxicating because it's something we're familiar with. We're familiar with somebody taking over and telling us how we feel, what we should do, how we're doing things wrong. We're so used to that, we're comfortable with that, that when they come along and do this, it's very natural. So we think, okay, well, this is the way things are. And of course, again, the love bombing, they fool us. Basically, you've been sold a bill of goods, and if you're not angry about that yet, I would strongly suggest you get angry about it and realize that, you just been, it's like going to the car lot and seeing the shiny car, and the guy's like, oh, this comes with a 100,000-mile warranty. A little old lady from up north just brought this in. It's low mileage. Basically, you get it home and the odometer's been rolled. It's really, this car's been beat up, and it's been, driven across the country a few times. Instead of having 18,000 miles, it has 118 or 218,000 miles, and you didn't know it. Basically, you've been swindled, and that's what the narcissist does. Now, why do they do this? Well, they do this because they're trying to get along in the world too, right? Unfortunately, they only have a few tools in their playbook, and that's the things that they've learned to adapt to, their coping mechanisms, the things they learned to adapt to life when they were younger. Now, you developed empathy, so you actually have a healthier adaptation to life. You feel compassion. You even feel compassion for the narcs, and that's something that is probably never going to go away. But there's a healthy compassion. There's a boundary component that you want in it. You want to, feel a certain amount, but you can't let somebody just tell you, okay, now that you're feeling like that, here's what you should do. Give them money or something. So there's just maybe some things that you have to tweak there, but that person is the person that is a problem in your life. And if hopefully you've gotten no contact, you're in the process of doing that, you'll see so much recovery, so much that sense, that independence that I talked about earlier. You'll have that sense in it, and now that you have more knowledge, hopefully you'll know that that's okay, that you can feel like that you can actually go and explore on your own. It's okay to feel alone, not feel alone, but it's okay to be alone. Now, what are you going to do with that? Well, maybe you're going to pick up maybe where you didn't have that development when you were younger. At least this is how I'm thinking about it from my standpoint. And again, we all come into this different, right? I'm just telling you from the enmeshment standpoint that maybe some of you can identify with that, and that those boundaries are just, there are no boundaries. It's basically a wide open yard with no fence around it. And so, a lot of people, they setting up boundaries is one of the healthiest things you can do besides getting rid of the narc. But a lot of people, they think, well, I don't want to be a dick, I don't want to come across as a bitch or whatever. Well, that's your old self telling you how you should be. And what's going to happen is you're going to, when you start to enforce your boundaries, you're going to start to lose people that you think are your friends, that are really just there maybe for convenience, especially if you've attracted people like the narc, or you've not attracted people like the narc, but you've hung around people like them. Your chances are your friends are going to be a lot of the same way. So what I'm saying is, you're going to want to get rid of those friends. You're going to want to make new ones when you have healthier boundaries, and you'll just feel a lot better. Life will be pretty easy. I mean, there's going to be struggles, but it's so much better when you can just hang out with people that support you, that you're always not, you're not watching over your shoulder. You're not always trying to figure out where the next shoe's going to drop. So that's what I would recommend. So anyways, guys, I hope this was a good video for you. It's fun talking to you guys on a Saturday. It's beautiful here in Dallas at 62 degrees. Not that means anything to you, but my attitude is what I want to convey across to you guys, in that this doesn't have to consume your life. Maybe for a short time you're going to get everything you can about narcissistic abuse and how these people work and think, so that you can kind of marry up the things in your head that maybe you were never able to put your finger on, all these different things. So it's good. It gets better. I'm so far over the hill now, over the hill, like there's this hill, right? If you're here and you're 2 months into this going no contact, I'm about 2 years out now, and it gets so much better, and you can do it. It's just a matter of staying in touch with who you are, being genuine, being true to yourself, having that awareness. And there's so much information, and just take some of the information and put it into practice. Go no contact, get rid of some of the people in your life that aren't helping you. So all right, guys, love you guys. Talk to you.